So it feels like every week there is a new best no-code app builder, and it can be really hard to distinguish them or figure out which one you should actually use. As an engineer myself, I love to build things, and I want you to be able to build things too. So today I thought I would try some of the most popular no-code website builders and help you figure out which is the right one for you. So let's get into it. So up first is Replit. It was super easy to get started. I could just start describing what I wanted, and I really liked their improved prompt feature. Generally, I think people undervalue how important the prompt is when it comes to generating the best output, or sometimes I think it's hard to figure out what is actually helpful to include in the prompt. So I think it's nice that they have this feature. Like, LLMs aren't perfect even when it comes to writing code, but you still have to make sure you're doing everything you can to set it up for success with your prompt. But also, I'd recommend if you do choose to use the improved prompt feature, go through it pretty carefully and see if you like the instructions that it's adding, because it will just make stuff up. So set it up for success. Replit also interestingly has two modes, a prototype mode and a build mode. So you could opt to just go ahead and build the thing that you're describing, but in most cases, I would imagine it's better to prototype first. Essentially, it's just a great opportunity for you and the LLM to be more aligned on the desired output, which will get you the best results and optimize your costs too. When I played with it, I wanted to make this digital scrapbook of sorts, and it had a very specific animation that I wanted to create in my head. It did take a few more tries than I would have liked to get it right, but eventually it did get pretty close. The thing is, it's pretty known that it's going to be better at building functionality than UI. With UI, you typically end up in those situations where you're like, do this thing, and the LLM will respond, I did it, and then you'll check, but it's actually still wrong. Those types of loops just get super frustrating, but you'll kind of experience that regardless of the no-code tool that you're using. Overall, though, I did find that Replit can still be quite technical. It has fewer visual examples and more technical frameworks that you can use. And with the UI that it builds, I feel like it's generally more on the flexible side to achieve what you want versus giving you something that is pretty good right off the bat. Generally, I feel like Replit is probably more for those who are slightly more technical leaning, or maybe they're just trying to build something that's slightly more technical than just a static web page. But from my perspective, at that point, I don't really think Replit offers that much of a lift over something like Cursor or Claude Code. You'd probably be able to build something cheaper if you go through the effort of trying to figure it out with one of those tools. Next up is Lovable. I was actually so excited to try Lovable because I feel like this is the one that I hear designers using the most. So I was really interested to see what it would output. And I feel like the results are mixed. At its core, you're getting something pretty close to Replit, but there's no prototype or build distinction. There's just one place where you describe what you want and it starts building that for you. When I was trying Lovable, I wanted to build a small productivity app for myself, like a weekly calendar that I could use and fill out. And immediately, I think it was pretty clear how much more opinionated Lovable was out of the box when it came to UI. Without me having to specify fonts or colors or vibe, it gave me something that's pretty good. But despite this though, when I was actually looking at the designs from the community examples, I was actually kind of unimpressed. But like I mentioned before, UI is just hard for AI. What I did like about Lovable though was that there were a lot more examples that I could look at, and it lets you remix it so you can essentially build starting from that community example. Though I do feel like it's worth noting that for Lovable, and I think Replit as well, a lot of the community users are probably building more landing pages, SaaS apps, or portfolio sites versus a personal app or a productivity app. So you'll likely have better luck leveraging a community example if you're trying to build one of the former. Overall though, I feel like Lovable does a nice job of wrapping the coding experience for the non-technical user. It has an easy GitHub integration, so you don't even have to worry about the code, but you can still own it and use GitHub for version control. I could see Lovable being a little limited depending on what you're trying to build, but I think for most cases, it'll probably be pretty good. And lastly, I want to try one more today, and that is V0 by Vercel. So I'm a longtime Vercel user. I use it for deploying and hosting my sites. So I think building out this no-code app builder is kind of a no-brainer for them. But the first thing that stood out to me was how much better these community examples looked. This is almost definitely a hand-selected if not paid for, cohort of sites. Because these sites look really good. Like way better than Lovable and Replit. But the question that remains is, will the site that I make turn out looking that good? For this test, I wanted to try to build a portfolio website. Judging by this output though, I'm guessing that the majority of V0 users are also in the SaaS landing page use case. Because it looks like their code writing agent has such a bias for that design, like with these sections and with this aesthetic, despite what I actually told it in my prompt. So that's great if you're trying to build a SaaS landing page, but less so if you're doing something else. This does kind of make sense though, given Vercel's existing user base probably leans more founders and developers. So it also makes sense that V0 also is a little bit more technical leaning. V0 also feels very web app focused. I don't know if you could build something like a mobile app in it, but I probably wouldn't use it for it. And while I feel like I could get V0 to transform the initial output into something closer to what I was envisioning, I think the best way to use V0 is actually just to leverage an existing template. Because again, like their templates are so good. If there's one in there that you like, I think it will honestly save you so much time, effort, and money. Okay, so let's review. There are a few things that I want to call out. First up, as an engineer, I think it's important that you're able to actually own your own code at the end of the day. So you have that flexibility in case you reach some sort of limitation of the tool that you start out with, or in case you want to scale up and productionize with a real designer or engineer. All of these do make it super easy for you to access the code, either by downloading it or with a GitHub integration. And second, I think it's important to consider price. None of these free tiers are really viable. They are honestly more like trials than a real plan. So if you're planning on actually building something, be ready to pay for it. V0 is notably the most generous though with their free tier with $5 of credit per month. Replit's felt like what was a few dollars non-replenishing. Lovable's is 5 credits a day, which by my calculations, I would estimate is about $1, but in practice, 5 credits is very little. Looking at the paid tiers, Replit is $20 for $25 of monthly credit. V0 is $20 for $20 of monthly credit. And Lovable, confusingly, is $25 for 100 credits per month, plus the 5 that you get per day. This is just a rough estimate, but based on my own API usage and calculations, using the standard API rates, I'm guessing these tools probably have more favorable rates than I do, but I would guess that each of these calls could be somewhere between 7 cents and 15 cents depending on the complexity. And they probably lean more on the complex side. If I'm remembering correctly, I think I used up my 5 Lovable credits in like 8 calls. At about 12 cents a call, 5 credits is about $1. So 100 credits would be about $20, which kind of makes sense. It's about the same as the others, but Lovable is definitely more on the expensive side. Sure, they offer those 5 credits a day, but honestly, you can use that up so quickly. I really wouldn't factor that in unless you see yourself willing to come back to the app every day and make 5 credits worth of progress. So overall, which is the best? Well, I'd say it depends on sort of what you're looking for. For Replit, I would probably use it if I'm trying to build something slightly more technically complex, more so than a static web page, and if I was at least somewhat technical leaning. Unfortunately, it will probably look the worst out of the box, but it is flexible. So if you have an eye for design or just the patience to prompt every little UI change, you can get through it. For Lovable, I would probably use this if I was totally non-technical. I think it's the most friendly and approachable, feels a little limited to me in what it can do, but I think there is a lot of value with getting something that looks pretty good right out of the box. Like, it might not be super unique, but it'll look good. And lastly, for V0, I would use it if there is a template that you see that you really like, or if you're building sort of a standard SaaS landing page, or if you're literally just starting out, just trying to explore, see what's out there without having to pay or commit to a tool. I'd choose V0 just for the $5 of free credit per month. But yeah, I hope that was helpful if you're looking to start to build something on your own for fun or otherwise. If you have more questions or if there's something I missed, please leave them for me in the comments down below. I'd be happy to help. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.